very good morning. Welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. It is Monday morning and there's lots that's making news. I'm Ashwarya Kapoor with you. Let us start the news bulletin with the top headlines. Terrorism a joint threat, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Calls for collective and focused action to combat terrorism during his day-long visit to Sri Lanka. Pays a tribute to the victims of Easter Sunday attacks in Colombo. BJP would meet the expectations of each and every Indian in the second terms, asserts Prime Minister Modi. Addresses BJP workers in temple town of Tirupati. Also assures the centre's full support to Andhra Pradesh. Centre expresses deep concern after 3 BJP and 1 Trinamool party workers die in post-poll violence in West Bengal. In an advisory, asks state to maintain law and order. BJP to observe a black day today against killing of party workers in the state. BJP gears up for assembly elections in Haryana, Jharkhand and Maharashtra later this year. Party President Amit Shah holds meetings with the top leaders of poll-bound states. Ally JDU decides to contest assembly elections alone. And in cricket, India continue its winning momentum in the ICC World Cup. Beat defending champions Australia by 36 runs. Men in blue deliver outstanding all-round performance. Man of the match Shikhar Dhawan smashes 117 of 109 balls. The top story this Monday morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi concluded his 2-day visit to Maldives and Sri Lanka on Sunday. And during the talks with the island nations' top leadership in the government and in the opposition, PM Modi called terrorism a joint threat in the South Asian region that needs collective and focused action. The Prime Minister held a bilateral meeting with Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena. Both leaders held discussion on maritime security in the Indian Ocean region and cooperation in economic development. And later, landing on Sunday afternoon in Colombo. Before that, the PM also held an extensive meeting with the leader of the opposition, Mahinda Rajapaksa, and discussed the need for close collaboration between the two countries in the field of counter-terrorism, security and economic development. And landing on Sunday afternoon in Colombo, PM Modi's first stop was the St. Anthony's Church, which was one of the targets of the Easter Sunday attacks, and offered his condolences to the victims. In a tweet, the Prime Minister said that he is confident that Sri Lanka will rise again and cowardly acts of terror cannot defeat the spirit of the island nation. He said that India stands in solidarity with the people of Sri Lanka. And earlier, the Prime Minister was accorded a ceremonial reception at the President's house. In a tweet, the Sri Lankan President termed PM Modi's visit as brief but highly productive. Vikram Singhe also said that he looks forward to holding discussions, including on increasing multilateral investment projects and collaboration in counter-terror actions. And later in the day, Modi also interacted with the Indian diaspora at India House in Colombo and urged the community to help strengthen bilateral ties.
भारत के लोकतंत्र का जितना जयगान हम कर सकते हैं, दुनिया के लोगों को आश्चर्य होता है। इतना बड़ा चुनाव, 900 मिलियन मतदाता, और अगर चाइना को छोड़ दें तो दुनिया के किसी भी देश की पॉपुलेशन से ज्यादा लोगों ने इस बार वोट डाला है। और ये इतना बड़ा निर्णय होता है तो अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी बात है। आजादी के बाद सबसे ज्यादा मतदान इस चुनाव में हुआ, आजादी के बाद लोकसभा का, ये अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी बात है। और वो भी मई महीने में 40-45 डिग्री टेम्परेचर, घर से बाहर निकलो तो चमड़ी जल जाए, उसके बाद भी बता दूंगा। आजादी के बाद अब तक महिलाओं का सबसे ज्यादा मतदान इस बार हुआ है। आजादी के बाद पहली बार इतनी बड़ी तादाद में महिला एमपी चुन करके आए। यानी एक प्रकार से भारत ने दुनिया के लिए एक सशक्त संदेश दिया है कि भारत का लोकतंत्र कितना परिपक्व है, भारत का लोकतंत्र कितना सामर्थ्यवान है और लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों के लिए भारत कितना समर्पित है।
भारत संस्कारों से, लोकतंत्र से जुड़ा हुआ है। सदियों से हमारे पूर्वजों ने जो परंपरा बनाई है उसमें लोकतंत्र का एसेंस है और उसी के कारण आज हमारा लोकतंत्र सामर्थ्यवान बन करके नित्य नई ताकत पाते हुए आगे बढ़ रहा है। और मैंने तो चुनाव जीतने के बाद भी कहा है कि भले मतदान के समय अधिक मत, कम वोट, ज्यादा वोट वाला जीतता है वगैरह होता है, लेकिन वो सब काउंटिंग तक ही होता है। काउंटिंग होने के बाद कश्मीर से कन्याकुमारी, अटक से कटक, हिंदुस्तान एक होता है। एक 130 करोड़ देशवासियों का कल्याण यही सरकार का लक्ष्य होता है, यही सरकार की जिम्मेवारी होती है और मैंने उसको दोहराया है, आज फिर से दोहरा रहा हूं। हमें देश को आगे ले जाना है, 5 साल में और गति बढ़ानी है और नए क्षेत्र बढ़ाने हैं। हर हिंदुस्तानी का सपना पूरा करने के लिए प्रयास करना है, उसमें कोई कमी न रहे और आप जैसे लोगों का आशीर्वाद बना रहे। भारत की विकास यात्रा में आप भी भागीदार बने, आपको भी मेरा निमंत्रण है।
And our colleague Krishna Mohan Sharma is now joining us live from Colombo. He was tracking the Prime Minister's visit very closely. A very good morning, Krishna. So PM Modi has said in a tweet that he had a very fruitful day-long visit to Sri Lanka, where he held talks with the top Lankan officials and also discussed ways to strengthen bilateral ties with the island nation. Of course, this visit, reflecting the importance that India attaches to its neighborhood first policy. Just give us an overview of the entire day-long visit of the Prime Minister.
चर्च ब्लास्ट के बाद वहाँ की इकोनॉमी और टूरिज्म दोनों काफ़ी ठप हो गई है और उसके बाद श्रीलंका ये कोशिश में था कि कोई एक मोदी जैसा बड़ा नेता उनके देश में आए ताकि बाकी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय नेता उसको फॉलो करें। वहाँ पे मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी की बात हुई, मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी के साथ साथ कल्चरल एक्सचेंज की बात हुई, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट की बात हुई, साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी की बात हुई और उसके बाद हेल्थ के क्षेत्र में जो उन्होंने एम्बुलेंस शुरू की है मोदी जी ने, वो बहुत ही सक्सेस है। जो वहाँ के हाई कमिश्नर से बात हुई, जो श्रीलंका के जो अधिकारी थे उनसे बातचीत हुई, उसको इस नज़रिए से बहुत महत्वपूर्ण देखा जा रहा है कि मोदी जैसे टॉल लीडर का श्रीलंका में आना इस बात का परिचय देता है कि दुख की घड़ी में, संकट के घड़ी में भारत हमेशा से श्रीलंका के साथ रहा है और आज भी साथ है। और उन्होंने बताया कि इसको बायलैटरल टाइज के तौर पे नहीं देखा जाना चाहिए, इसको भाईचारे का बंधन देखा जाना चाहिए। भाईचारे की नीति के तहत यहाँ पे वो आए थे और लोगों से मिल के गए हैं और शायद यही वजह है कि उन्होंने वहाँ पे जो इंडिया डायस्पोरा से उन्होंने बातचीत की, उसमें उन्होंने कहा कि भारतीय संस्कृति को आप श्रीलंका में जिंदा रखिए और भारत के निर्माण में हम आपको निमंत्रण देते हैं कि आप आइए और भारत को विश्व गुरु बनाइए।
All right, Krishna, thank you so much for those updates there. And wrapping up the entire visit of the Prime Minister. And after wrapping up his Sri Lanka visit, the Prime Minister offered prayers at Tirupati, where he was accompanied by Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy. He was also given a traditional welcome by the priests. He addressed the BJP workers in the temple town and asserted that the BJP will meet the expectations of 130 crore Indians in the next 5 years and also win their hearts by taking up massive welfare programs. He also congratulated Jagan Mohan Reddy and assured the centre's full support in the state's development.
हम चुनावी ढोल पिटने के बाद ही मैदान में आने वाले लोग नहीं हैं। हम जनता के सुख दुख के साथ जुड़े हुए भव्य भारत के निर्माण के लिए संकल्पबद्ध कार्यकर्ताओं की एक समर्पित व्यवस्था है और उसके हम हिस्सा हैं। हम चुनाव के बाद भी जनसामान्य के सुख के लिए, जनसामान्य के जीवन में बदलाव के लिए हमारे प्रयासों में रत्ती भर भी कमी नहीं आने देंगे। हम ऊपर से हमारे प्रयासों को और व्यापक करेंगे और आंध्र और तमिलनाडु में विशेष रूप से करके दिखाएंगे।
And early on Saturday, India and the Maldives inked 6 packs in key areas like defense and maritime security. Agreements for cooperation in the fields of hydrography and health were also signed. The other agreements included on the establishment of passenger and cargo services by sea, cooperation in customs capacity building between Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs of India and the Maldives Customs Service. An MOU on training and capacity building program for Maldivian civil servants was also agreed upon, and also a technical agreement on sharing white shipping information between the Indian Navy and the Maldives National Defence Force was also signed. News from West Bengal now, where the BJP will observe a 12-hour Bandh in West Bengal's Bashirhat district. Now, the party will also observe a black day in the entire state against the killing of 3 of its party workers on Saturday in post-poll clashes in North 24 Parganas district. Remember, 3 BJP workers and 1 Trinamool Congress member were killed in violence in North 24 Parganas district on Saturday. Now, the clash is the first major incident of violence after the bitterly contested Lok Sabha election in the state. The BJP has also decided to move court against the role of the police in the latest violence incident.
TMC goons attacked upon the BJP workers, and our 4 BJP workers were shot dead from the close range. The reign of terror has been unleashed by the TMC goons as because their leader and chief minister indulging the reign of terror. Just we have sent a message to my All India President Amit Shah ji as well as the Home Minister. I made a message to Kailash Vijayvargiya ji, and we have talked to our state leaders.
Meanwhile, the centre on Sunday expressed deep concern over continuing violence in West Bengal, saying that the unabated violence, even after the Lok Sabha polls, appears to be a failure on part of the state government. Also, in an advisory to the Mamata Banerjee government, the Ministry of Home Affairs also asked it to maintain law and order, peace and public tranquility. The West Bengal government, however, responded to the advisory, saying that the situation in the state was under control, barring a few stray post-poll clashes. And our colleague Panchanan Mishra is joining us on the phone line for more details on this story. Panchanan, it is very shocking that, West Bengal has been witnessing these incidents of violence ever since that election schedule was announced. And of course, even after the elections in the state, this violence is continuing, and both the TMC and the BJP are accusing each other of instigating violence for political gains. And we understand that today a black day is going to be observed by the BJP, and the Home Ministry has also issued an advisory. What more details can you give us?
Exactly, Aishwarya. Violence is a cause of concern in Bengal, and it was during the elections when we were there, and we witnessed it also during the election. The tension was there during the polling, and after the the apprehensions was being made that after the polls, the violence will escalate, and the same is happening there. And as we know that 4 persons have been killed, that 1 person from BJP, 3 persons from BJP, and 1 from Trinamool Congress. This is a cause of concern. That's why MHA has given a strong advisory to state. And also, Governor of West Bengal, Keshavnath Tripathi, is in Delhi, is scheduled to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi and also Home Minister Amit Shah. So all this is happening in Bengal, and we know that BJP did a very good performance in this Lok Sabha elections, and in 2021 there will be an assembly election. And
Yes.
this all is happening due to the tension between ruling BJP party and in Bengal, the TRINAMUL Congress. And in this violence, the many innocent lives are being lost. So it's a cause of concern from center. So that's why the center has issued the advisory, and we have to see that after meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah, what will come out.
Absolutely. We have to wait and watch. You keep tracking all those developments. We'll keep coming back to you. Meanwhile, BJP President Amit Shah on Sunday held deliberations with the party's core group leaders from the three assembly poll-bound states. Now, according to sources, Amit Shah held separate meetings with the leaders from Maharashtra, Jharkhand and Haryana, all the states that will go to polls later this year. The deliberations focused on the preparation for the elections, with Amit Shah taking stock of the prevailing political situation and also discussing the BJP's strategy in the respective states. Meanwhile, Nitish Kumar-led Janata Dal United has decided not to be a part of the BJP-led NDA outside Bihar. The JDU will fight the upcoming assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir, Jharkhand, Haryana and Delhi alone. Now, this was announced at the party's national executive meet in Patna on Sunday. However, Nitish Kumar made it clear that the JDU would fight the 2020 assembly elections in Bihar in alliance with the BJP.
महागठबंधन के लोगों ने भी और कुछ और लोगों ने भी वातावरण पटना से बाहर बनाया हुआ है, तो पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष का, राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारिणी का स्पष्ट मत है और एक बार हम इसको फिर दोहराते हैं कि हम एनडीए के पार्ट हैं और एनडीए के पार्ट रहेंगे। 2020 का विधानसभा चुनाव एनडीए के बैनर के नीचे श्री नीतीश कुमार जी के नेतृत्व में लड़ा जाएगा। एक उतना ही मजबूती से हम ये कहना चाहते हैं कि केंद्र की सरकार का हिस्सा जेडीयू नहीं बनेगा।
In Breakfast News, time for a very short break. We'll be right back with more news. Don't go anywhere.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Ghata, one of the oldest and most unique percussion instruments of southern India. You can play it not only with your fingers, but palms, wrists and heels as well. You'll be surprised, but the air inside the ghatam reverberates, creating the musical notes. 5 elements of nature, earth, water, air, fire and space make up the composition of this beautiful musical piece, which has found an apt place in most of the ancient books.
Welcome back after the break. News from Japan. At the ongoing G20 meeting on trade, India pitched for promoting micro, small and medium enterprises in developing countries. This was emphasized by Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal at a session on promotion of trade and investment at a G20 nations meet in the Japanese city of Suzuka. And Goyal stressed on the need to support MSMEs in developing countries to spur job creation and promote trade in a sustainable manner. And at the sidelines of the meet, the Commerce Minister also held bilateral meetings with his counterparts from UK, Japan, Spain, Korea and South Africa and discussed ways to increase trade and investment. And Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman also addressed the two-day meeting of the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors at Fukuoka in Japan, where India called upon the G20 countries to urgently fix the issue of taxing profits made by digital economy with an aim to bring offshore companies with a significant economic presence into the tax net. International news and police in Kazakhstan have arrested hundreds of people protesting against the election to elect the country's president. Now, the election was called to elect the country's first new president in 30 years. This after long-time leader, 78-year-old Nursultan Nazarbayev, stepped down in March. His hand-picked successor, that is interim president Keizhamat Tokayev, is widely expected to win the vote. The protesters claimed that the poll was not free and fair, but Tokayev described the process as democratic and open. Large-scale protests, that is the biggest in the country in years, have been reported in Kazakhstan's capital and also its largest city of Almaty. Hundreds of peaceful demonstrators and several journalists and activists monitoring them were detained by the police. Exit polls suggest that 66-year-old Tokayev, a former Director General of the United Nations office in Geneva, won the election with 70% of the vote. News from Hong Kong now, where mass protests took place on Sunday to protest a proposed extradition law that critics say would let China target political opponents in the territory of Hong Kong. On Sunday, hundreds of thousands of people rallied against the proposed law in one of the largest demonstrations in Hong Kong's history. Now, organizers say that about 1 million people took part in the march. However, police put the figures at more than 2 lakh. Later, clashes also erupted between hundreds of protesters and the police. Now, Chinese state media says that foreign forces are seeking to hurt China by trying to create havoc in the Hong Kong territory. And it says that it will go ahead for the second reading of the extradition bill on Wednesday. However, critics say that the bill would expose the China's deeply flawed justice system, and it will lead to further erosion of Hong Kong's judicial independence. And now news from the ICC Cricket World Cup. In India recorded a stunning 36-run win over defending champions Australia at the Oval in London last night. India posted and successfully defended a mammoth total of 352 for the loss of 5 wickets at the end of 50 overs, which is the highest total by any side against the Kangaroos in the World Cup. And earlier, captain Virat Kohli won the toss and elected to bat first. Batsmen Shikhar Dhawan, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli and Hardik Patel scored for the team, while bowlers Jasprit Bumrah and Bhuvneshwar Kumar took 3 wickets apiece. India dismissed Australia for 316 runs to record their second consecutive victory after an opening win over South Africa. And man of the match Shikhar Dhawan scored 117 runs off 109 balls. With 2 straight wins, the men in blue are now placed third in the 10-team table. India will next play New Zealand on Thursday. And in today's match, South Africa will take on West Indies at the Southampton. And now news from the world of tennis. World number 2 Rafael Nadal has lifted the French Open men's single title for the 12th time. In the summit clash that was played in Paris last night, the Spaniard defeated Austrian 4th seed Dominic Thiem 6-3, 5-7, 6-1, 6-1 to win at the Roland Garros for the 3rd straight year. The King of Clay has never lost a French Open final and now has 18 major titles in his kitty. The 33-year-old is now just 2 titles behind Roger Federer's all-time record of 20 majors and is 3 ahead of world number 1 Novak Djokovic. And in some sad news just coming in, veteran actor, writer and playwright Girish Karnad passed away today morning in Bengaluru. 81-year-old Girish Karnad was a prominent playwright for 4 decades. Karnad made his acting as well as a screenwriting debut in a Kannada movie in 1970, and in television he played the role of a Swami's father in the iconic TV series Malgudi Days in 1986. He also hosted the science magazine Turning Point on Doordarshan in the early 1990s. He also acted in several Hindi films. He was conferred the Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan and won 4 Filmfare Awards as well, 3 for Best Director in Kannada Cinema and a 4th a Filmfare Best Screenplay Award. And that is a wrap on this edition of Breakfast News. Thanks for watching.